Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia, brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 high-quality pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling bikes safe, easy, and convenient. Now, let's get into today's race because it's going to be an exciting race. Guys, we saw yesterday in stage 1, Tadej Pogačar lost and didn't get the race leader's pink jersey or win yesterday's stage. I called the stage a complete tactical knucklehead mistakes from UAE team members, and I explained to you why I believe that. Now we start going into today's race. There's interviews all over the place. If you remember right, I told you yesterday, if you're a UAE team member, it's Jonathan Narvaez. Don't ride the front. Don't put Ineos on the front. Don't do anything to help UAE Team Emirates win today's stage or take the race leader's pink jersey. Don't do anything to help UAE Team Emirates save some energy on this stage too. You got to start putting some nails into the legs of UAE Team Emirates, because I told you yesterday and I told you days before that, the weeks before that, that they brought their B team here for UAE Team Emirates. Well, we'll get into that a little bit more, but one of the interviews, the first interview I want to talk about, Zach is the director sportif here from Ineos, and he says they just can't give pink away. Oh man, I'm sitting on the Chesterfield. I'm like, give it away. You got Tadej Pogačar sitting third, 6 seconds behind the race leader's pink jersey there of Jonathan Narvaez. You got to just make those guys ride. You're not giving it away. What you're getting out of today's stage, if you don't ride for pink, is you're going to make UAE team members work the whole stage. For sure, there's going to be some tactical nightmare out there. If you don't ride on the front, that's what you want. You want the breakaway going up the road, gaining so much time before UAE Team Emirates finally call your bluff and realize that if they want to win the double here at the Giro d'Italia in 2024, starting here and then going to the Tour de France, they're going to have to ride. They don't have a choice. They have to ride. But Zach says, well, we got the pink jersey here with Jonathan Narvaez, so we're going to go ahead and try to keep pink and do what we can. Well, we get into the racing, and just before it starts, I went back it up one more time because the interviews were all over the place. And when I was watching the Max coverage here, it was Arensman's father that put up a Twitter post. He put up there blaming the trainer from Ineos of why Arensman went bad on yesterday's stage 1. Guys, they do it to them all the time. Now, Sean Kelly, throughout the race, he'll start talking about the riders just need to tell the trainers that, hey, I don't want to change my program that much. But Sean Kelly, the problem is you forgot that you're 60 years old now, so you're not afraid to tell the trainer of who's paying you, because remember, the boss over there at Ineos is saying, this is our trainer, you got to listen to him. These kids are 20, young 30s. They haven't got the confidence yet to actually know what's best for them, so they start listening to the trainer. And then our Arensman believes yesterday, stage 1, because he failed on yesterday's stage 1 and fell off the back, he's blaming it all on the trainers there of Ineos. And then, of course, he told the story over to his dad, and his dad put it up on Twitter that he's blaming the race team there of Ineos' trainer, and that's why he went bad. And now he's saying he hopes during this 3 weeks of racing here at the Grand Tour, well, the trainer can't affect his form now because they can't affect his training because the racing decides your training. Well, hopefully Arensman goes a little bit better here in stage 2. Now, as the racing rolls off, we're going to get about 5 kilometers into a 160-kilometer race. 3 categorized climbs. Of course, it's the last one you want to pay attention to because it's a Cat 1 at 11 kilometers and 6.2%. We know it's a summit finish, so that means Tadej Pogačar is in the ideal hot seat here to win today's race. If they want to take the pink jersey, they'll have to ride the front. Maybe not, because we already know Zach from the DS at Ineos said they're going to ride anyways. Well, we get into the stage, 5 kilometers into it. Breakaway of 5 riders are going up the road. Piccolo's in there from EF Education at just over a minute on general classification, so he's a bit of a threat. Now, we're going to get to just a few kilometers into the race, and the time gap starts going up. We start getting it up to about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. Then we see Ineos start getting on the front. They're the first ones to blink. That's Swift on the front there. He's pulling, he's riding solo for a bit of time till we get into about 103 kilometers to go. If you're watching Max, this is when we start seeing that Rob Hatch starts talking to Robbie McEwen, my old teammate from Lotto, and Sean Kelly. And he says, as he's talking about the butterfly effect, that he was surprised when he went onto the websites and was watching some comments up there that some guys up here on the butterfly effect, Chris Horner he's talking about, some guys believe UAE team members weren't strong in yesterday's stage 1. Well, Robbie McEwen says, yo, I believe they were strong. Sean Kelly says they broke it down to 35 riders group and they still had guys in the front group. They were strong. Well, now let's go in and look at Geraint Thomas's interview. First thing he's asked is about the comment there from Marinsman's dad. And well, this is pretty funny because Garrett Thomas says, well, I'm glad my dad doesn't know how to use Twitter, so I don't have to deal with that problem. But it wasn't an ideal situation. Everyone got over it. Everything will be fine. And then when he starts talking about yesterday's UAE team members, he says, well, it's the same tactics they always employed on stage 1, but they weren't quite 100%. Okay, so it was their B team, right? They're not 100%. There we go. When you're looking at the comment from Rob Hatch, from Robbie McEwen, and from Sean Kelly saying that they looked strong yesterday, well, Geraint Thomas believes what I believe, that it looked strong. And if you still don't believe Geraint Thomas or me, just go back and look at the last right turn as you're starting the last and final 1.5 kilometer climb. And tell me if you see any UAE team members, riders on the front. Clearly, this is their B team, and that's what I'm talking about. Now, keep in mind, when we started the Giro d'Italia here, they got other riders on their team that they could have brought. Once Jay Vine crashed out of stage 4 of the Basque Country, they could have went over Brandon McNulty and said, hey, Brandon, we're going to need you good for the Giro because you're going to take the spot of Jay Vine. They could have went over to Del Toro and said, hey, Del Toro, we've raced you a ton. We're going to give you a bit of a break right now. Once we saw Jay Vine crash, we're going to move you into the Giro. But instead, they didn't bring those two riders. So as I've already covered many times, Domi Novak and Bjork, they're the only two riders outside of Rafael Majka of the climbers on the team. A little bit of Grossschartner might surprise us one of these days here in the Giro because he always does. But they don't have pure climbers except for Rafael Majka. So this is their B team. It's easy to explain. Well, we go back to the race video coverage now after my rant here from them guys at Max not understanding how to bike race. And once we look at the front of the peloton with about 100 kilometers to go, UAE team Emirates gets on the front. Well, this is when Adam Blythe says, I don't understand why they're riding the front. Well, let's go back to the bus at the beginning of the videos where Adam Blythe was given the race meeting here for UAE team Emirates. And he says, his words, not mine, guys, I want you to come out like rockets. I want you to go take the pink. I want you to win the stage. And now when UAE team Emirates are riding the front, because the gap is still around 4 minutes or they're just a little bit higher, Adam Blythe's a little lost why UAE team members are on the front. They're on the front because they're trying to come out like rockets. They're trying to win the stage, and they're trying to take the race leader's pink jersey. Adam Blythe, I got gripes with everybody over there at Max because they don't know how to bike race. Well, we get up to the front of the break. Like I said, 5 guys. The gap's been going up quite a bit. We'll see that Ferrelli there, he's from Bardiani. He's taking some sprint line points competition. Then we'll see the Inter-Giro competition sprint from back at the peloton. It was the most exciting all the way through the early parts of this stage because Caleb Ewan lit up the sprinters back there in the Inter-Giro competition to get 6th place points. Now let's go up to 50 kilometers to go because Piccolo's throwing in his attack for EF Education. The gap was coming down to about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Piccolo, he was going solo. Now, he wants going solo right now because they finally got into the last final part of the climbing part of the stage here, but it's 50 kilometers to go. I kind of agree here with Sean Kelly where I don't know if you want to go from 50, but if it wasn't gelling well in the break, sometimes it's hard to tell from the Chesterfield if they're holding back a few watts. So this is why we see Piccolo taking off. He's going to get maximum KOM points on the first climb of today's race. Then he's going to get maximum points on the second climb. We go back and look at the peloton as they start the first part of this climbing stage here on stage 2 of the Giro. We see UAE team members are getting on the front and setting the pace a little bit faster. Once they go over the first KOM points, then they start going up on the second. Piccolo, like I said, got first and second KOM points on each one of these climbs. But it's the peloton I'm most interested in because we're about 35 kilometers to go. Ineos are riding the front. Whole team is on the front, guys. This is a ridiculous tactic. I don't know what they're thinking. I do know what they're thinking. They're thinking, we got hope. Maybe Jonathan Narvaez is better than we've ever seen him on the bigger climbs and Grand Tours because he won yesterday's stage 1 after he sat on Tadej Pogačar. But guys, he got a rest all the way down the descent. Just had to light up Tadej Pogačar in the sprint. And Tadej Pogačar even jumped at 200 meters, which is a little bit early on an uphill drag to the finish of stage 1. But they got hope for Jonathan Narvaez right here. So they got the whole team on the front, and one guy pulling right there, that's Ghana. Ghana's on the front pulling. Guys, you don't put Ghana on the front. He was your 3rd best climber in yesterday's stage 1, but they got him drilling on the front. With Ineos up there pulling time back on Piccolo, we start seeing the time gap drop down to just about a minute and a half over the second KOM. Once we start coming down the second KOM, the Ineos is still on the front, and they're going all the way into about 11 kilometers to go. Now look at the area view. We'll see Ineos on the front. We got Bora Hansgrohe, Bahrain Victorious on the left side, Bora on the right. Then we see 3 UAE Team Emirates riders at the front, but no Tadej Pogačar. Where is the Slovenian? The cameras find him quickly. He's at the back of the peloton. Look at the front wheel. It's flat. Now he's coming into the right turn. As he goes into the right, look at the splash coming out of the front wheel of his tire. That's the gel right there that's trying to sealant, that's trying to seal all the holes in the tubeless tires. I hate tubeless tires. I tried them one time, thought when I first put it on like this would be something magical. After the first few flats that I got stuck on the side of the road with my hands all goopy and gel all over the place, like we see exploding right here from Tadej Pogačar. Then he loses his front tire in the right turn, and his UAE Team Emirates car from behind him almost run him over. Only needed a few more inches, maybe a foot at the most, and Tadej Pogačar is getting ran over. Instead, the Slovenian rolls out of it, jumps up, waves his hand in the air. Mechanic is quick out of the car, grabs his bike, gives it to him, and not one mechanic's pushing, but one mechanic and one Fabio Balto there, his director sportif, driving the car or sitting in the car. He's pushing him too, and they got two pushes there to get Tadej Pogačar back up and running here with just under 11 kilometers to go. Now, why did it happen? Why did Tadej Pogačar crash? Well, he got on the race radio later, as I'm telling you in hindsight, and he told the director sportif he needed to pull over because he's got a front flat. But the director sportif said, we pull over after the turn. That's a wise, normal move because you want to get after the turn so the director sportif or the mechanic or both of them can give you a hard push. Only problem is with all that sealant in his tires and the tire coming flat down to the rim, it splashes, it makes the tire slippery, and then he crashes, and that's what caused the crash. Never run sealant on your tires. Never run tubeless. Tubeless system is a nightmare. They have tried to sell you that, and it doesn't work, guys. For mountain biking, it works. For road bikes, it's a nightmare. If you want a fast rolling tire, go buy yourself a tubular tire. If you want a flat, fast rolling clincher, go buy yourself some normal clincher tires and put some Tubolitos in there, because the Tubolitos mix there, of course, with some Schwabe tires, you're going to have the fastest rolling tires on the planet, and you're going to have the lightest tube in there, so you're not going to have this kind of problem. Now, it's Tadej Pogačar's got a couple of his teammates waiting. It's Großschartner and it's Domen Novak back there. Domen Novak's going to pull to the back of the peloton. As they start to climb proper, Piccolo's got about a minute gap. Once we get to the back of the peloton with UAE team members, look at Großschartner. He's coming up the right side, but the peloton's only about 70 riders. It's not super big, but it is pretty wide, which means Ineos isn't going full gas. If I back the film up just a hair between the time when Tadej Pogačar crashed and the time he got back on, well, there are some time bonuses there. We saw Geraint Thomas get 2-second time bonuses for second place because Piccolo's still up the road. Now, with Tadej Pogačar and Großschartner just in front of him, he's going to bring him up to the front of the peloton. It's time for UAE team members to put plan 1 into effect right here on stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia. Once UAE team members start lighting it up, it's Großschartner on the front. He's got Björg sitting second, Domen Novak third, Rafael Majka and Tadej Pogačar just behind those. With the pace up there of Großschartner, he's going full gas. And we start seeing, with about 6.5, 7 kilometers to go, this is when we start seeing second place on general classification, Max Schachmann. He's coming out the back. That means Tadej Pogačar's moved up to second on the podium right here for the virtual lead of the Giro d'Italia. Narvaez, though, is still holding on to the lead there of UAE team Emirates as the peloton's going full gas up there with Großschartner on the head of the peloton. With 6.5 kilometers to go, thereabouts, maybe just a hair under, we see Großschartner. He's going to pull back Piccolo. Now the group is all back together, so we're talking about stage victory, and the pink race leader's jersey here at the Giro d'Italia is all available. Once we see Großschartner and he caught Piccolo, he pulls off hard left. Now it's time for who? Bjorg. It's time for Bjorg to go to work. Bjorg is on the front. He's going full gas. He's got Domen Novak sitting second wheel. Bjorg's throwing everything into it. He's got the ugly face showing all over the place. They get up to just about 5.5 kilometers to go. Domen Novak's looking over his shoulder because he's hurting right now, and he's getting ready to just pull out hard left. As he pulls out hard left, we look up front, and there's Bjorg. Bjorg's looking over his shoulder. He's looking back over there to see where Tadej Pogačar or see who's second on his wheel, but Domen Novak's already pulled off. Now look at the picture there down at the lower part of your screen showing the profile of the climb. This is important to remember. There is two important parts of this climb, and maybe I'll call it three because the end kind of flattens out. But it flattened out at about 8.5 kilometers ago, and it flattens out again at 5.1 kilometers ago. Only problem is we're at 5.5 kilometers to go as we see Bjorg starting to blow. Once he looks over his shoulder again, he gives the elbow there, and the only guy left is Rafael Majka. We'll see Bjorg pull over hard left and start to drop, and he'll look again over his shoulder at Tadej Pogačar because he knows this is it, and he's wishing Tadej Pogačar good luck. The problem is, right here for UAE team members, they didn't do their planning right, because as we see up front with Rafael Majka on the front, he's going to pull a little bit further, and then at like 5.3 kilometers to go, it flattens out. Now Rafael Majka looks over his shoulder at Tadej Pogačar. What he's telling him right now is, sorry, Tadej Pogačar, I got to back the power off just a little bit. This was intelligent riding right here from Rafael Majka, because you don't want to pull 100% on the flat part of the climb here, because otherwise you're too tired when it punches up to 13% right with 5.1 kilometers to go. So Rafael Majka backs off the throttle. Wasn't a tactically intelligent decision from Bjorg and from Grosschartner and Domin Novak to blow before 5.1 kilometers to go. One of them had to get Rafael Majka in the 5.1. So Rafael Majka saying, no, I'm backing off the throttle, and he's telling Tadej Pogačar, I got to back off here. If you're still good, I'm going to punch it at 5.1 kilometers to go. So we see there with Rafael Majka and the pace dropping, the guys in the back are trying to get back up. And when we look at the back of the peloton, that's Danny Martinez back there from Bora Hansgrohe, and he's swinging on the back. Well, they're going to back off as it flattens out a little bit, and then 5.1 kilometers comes. Once Rafael Majka hits the steep part of the climb, he punches it 100%. You see him coming into the switchbacks, ugly face. He goes just a few hundred meters into the steep part of this Category 1 climb here on stage 2. As he pulls off hard right. Tadej Pogačar explodes on the pedals. Guys, he explodes. He's got Ben O'Connor on his wheel. Geraint Thomas is locked on the wheel, and the race leader's pink jersey, Jonathan Narvaez, there is locked on. 4 riders are going away, and one, Alexei Lusenko, if you want to call him a fifth, he's right there. Doesn't take long though. Then we see the pink jersey. Bam! His legs are blowing. Hope is out the window because he's realized Tadej Pogačar's the #1 ranked rider on the butterfly effect. As he starts getting dropped, Ben O'Connor still holding on there to Tadej Pogačar, but now Geraint Thomas is starting to come off. Geraint's sitting third wheel. His head drops so far below his shoulders. You know he's maxed out. Then we look back up at the front again. Tadej Pogačar still accelerating. Ben O'Connor explodes. With that explosion, he comes off the wheel of Tadej Pogačar, and now Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian's going solo. Look at this aerial shot. Tadej Pogačar in first. Ben O'Connor gapped second. Third place, Geraint Thomas gapped fourth place back there. That's the race leader's pink jersey. That's Jonathan Narvaez getting dropped. Everybody split away. Tadej Pogačar is accelerating on the pedal. Ben O'Connor struggling big time. Geraint Thomas, we're going to see him bridge back up to Ben O'Connor, but he can't help out the Australian rider up there as he's sucking wheel behind the Australian rider from AG2R. But Tadej Pogačar still going up the road. We look a little bit further back. Things are getting interesting because the groups are starting to come back, because that's Kian Utebrooks from Visma Lease Bike. Kian Utebrooks struggling, but he's going to find his way back up to the 2 riders in front, Ben O'Connor and Geraint Thomas, to make 3 riders up front. Now let's look at the next group. Well, we still got another group, 6, 7 guys back there, all mixed up, kind of sort of attached to each other. But we look at the very far group back there. Danny Martinez is coming back on with Chavez back there and Lusenko. He'll find his way back up. Now we're going to end up with 9, 10, 11 riders in the front group, and we're under 3 kilometers to go. We look a little further down the road, 50 seconds further down the road from Tadej Pogačar. That's the race leader's pink jersey. Jonathan Narvaez has blown and has losing the race leader's pink jersey. So we know Tadej Pogačar is going for a stage win and pink here for UAE Team Emirates. Now, with the group coming back together with 2.2 kilometers to go, that group is huge. We start seeing some attacks from Danny Martinez. He's found some legs. He went smooth. He got dropped to begin with, went smooth. Throwing in attack there, and he's got some company on his wheel because that's Michael Storer. We look behind there, Movistar's chasing, that's Einar Rubio. Rubio's closing the gap to bring everyone back together. Then we see Lipovets get on the front from Bora Hansgrohe. Lipovets is the teammate of Danny Martinez, one of the big-time GC favorites here at the Giro d'Italia, and Lipovets now is starting to drop Ben O'Connor coming out the back. Later, Ben O'Connor's going to have some company because Lusenko's going to be back there and Chavez is going to be back there, which means 3 are getting dropped from the front group, and then we look at the front. We got about 9 riders left with Lipovic going full gas, but not as fast as Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian. As he's coming into about 700 meters to go, the motorcycles come up to the back wheel of the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar. Then he comes into the right, the left, hits the cobblestone, sits up and celebrates with both arms wide. A victory here on stage 2 of Giro d'Italia, his first Giro d'Italia victory to round out all of the Grand Tours. Yes, he has won the Tour de France, so you know he's got stage wins. He didn't win the Vuelta a España, but he's got stage wins there. Now he does the trifecta here with stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia and puts himself in the pink leaders race jersey. Now what's happening in the back? Lipovic, the young kid from Bora Hansgrohe, remember him from Romandy, put on quite a show there at Romandy. Now he's coming across onto the cobblestones, leading out the group behind until Geraint Thomas throws in an attack on the left side, about 50 meters to go. But he's got Danny Martinez on his wheel. With 10 meters to go, Danny Martinez takes the lead. He'll round out second here on stage 2. Geraint Thomas will get third for third place bonus points. And then we look back behind in fourth place. That's Fortunato from Astana having a fine ride here on stage 2 of the Giro d'Italia. Narvaez lost a ton of time, about 2 minutes, so the pink jersey's gone from Team Ineos. Guys, it was gone before the race started. Either way, they were going to lose the race. Tadej Pogačar was either going to race today's final and last climb here of stage 2 for GC time, or you were going to give him an opportunity, if you put Ineos on the front throughout the whole stage, to win the stage and take pink jersey and put time onto the GC guys. But either way, Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian, was going to light everybody up on this climb, and especially if you left his whole team fresh. It was a tactical nightmare out here from Ineos after what was a brilliant stage 1 victory here from Jonathan Narvaez. Now, in his interview before the stage, he said, you got to just do the best you can, and you can't just race against Tadej Pogačar. I always hate when I see someone say you just can't race against the best rider in the world at the race that you're at, because that is the first and only guy you have to focus on until he blows and gets dropped. And he's not going to blow Team Ineos if you ride the front, and certainly if you're riding the front with Ghana, making the race even harder and faster, so Tadej Pogačar can be that much better than everyone else when you get on the last and final climb. If you wanted to have any kind of hope for later here at the Giro d'Italia, you blew it here on stage 2, because Tadej Pogačar just put 30 seconds into everyone. He's wearing the race leader's pink jersey by 45 seconds on Geraint Thomas, and Danny Martinez is sitting third on the general classification when it's all said and done. Now guys, Ineos were knuckleheads. UAE team members rode a good race here because they didn't have to spend much time on the front, with the exception, when I take you back there to Björk, if he could have done a few hundred meters, so slow the pace down just a little bit more, do a few hundred meters, get yourself up to that 5.3 kilometers to go so you can get Rafael Majka through that flat section. That would allow Rafael Majka to do a bigger, longer hit on the steeper part of the climb. So that was the only mistake, and I'm just cutting hairs here. It was a small one, I know, because Tadej Pogačar was beautiful and looks even more beautiful wearing the race leader's pink jersey. When we go into tomorrow's stage 3, it's going to be a field sprint stage most likely, so the sprinter team should control tomorrow's stage 3 and the next stage on stage 4. So Tadej Pogačar said in his interview, his next objectives right now is to keep his team as rested as he possibly can and stay safe in the sprinting stages that are here to come next on stage 3 and 4. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, where you get everything accurately delivered to you thanks to Bicycle, and I'll see you guys on the next Butterfly Effect real soon for stage 3 of the Giro d'Italia.